The silent invasion. They came in the winter of 2047, when the northern lights danced across the sky like ribbons of liquid crystal. The Nexar ships descended through Earth's atmosphere without a sound, their crystalline structures refracting the aurora's glow into countless prismatic patterns. Humanity's first contact with alien life wasn't marked by explosions or dramatic declarations of war. It began with silence. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of the International Space Station, watching as the geometric vessels positioned themselves in perfect geometric formations above major cities. Their arrival had been predicted by neither radio telescopes nor deep space monitoring stations. They had simply appeared, as if crystallizing out of thin air. They're requesting direct neural interface protocols. Mission Commander Rodriguez reported, his voice steady despite the unprecedented situation. They're saying it's their preferred method of communication. Sarah's hand instinctively went to the neural implant at the base of her skull, standard issue for all space station personnel, used for direct interface with the station's systems. And ground control's response. They're approving it. UN Security Council just gave the green light. The first interface was established in Geneva, where the World Council for Extraterrestrial Contact had hastily assembled. Dr. Chen watched the live feed as Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the leading expert in neural interface technology, initiated contact with the Nexar representative, a towering humanoid figure composed of shifting crystalline fragments that seemed to pulse with internal light. The connection was successful. Within hours, the Nexar were sharing technological insights that seemed centuries beyond human understanding. They spoke of neural networks that spanned galaxies, of consciousness transferred through crystalline matrices, of thoughts that could bridge the vast distances between stars. But Sarah Chen couldn't shake her unease. As humanity's leading researcher in consciousness studies, something about the Nexar's neural patterns felt wrong. They were too perfect, too structured, lacking the beautiful chaos that characterized human consciousness. In the months that followed, the Nexar integrated themselves into human society with remarkable efficiency. They established enhancement centers in major cities, offering to upgrade human neural implants with their crystalline technology. Millions volunteered, eager to experience the expanded consciousness the aliens promised. Sarah watched from the space station as humanity embraced their new allies, but she kept digging. Late at night, when the station was quiet except for the hum of life support systems, she analyzed the data from the neural interfaces. The patterns were becoming more uniform, more crystalline, less human. "Look at this," she told Rodriguez one night, pointing to her neural pattern analysis. "The enhanced humans, their consciousness is being standardized. It's subtle, but it's happening. The beautiful chaos of human thought is being replaced by Nexar patterns." Rodriguez studied the data, his face illuminated by the holographic display. "But why? The Nexar have shared so much with us. Their technology has advanced our civilization by decades." "Because they're not sharing technology," Sarah whispered, the terrible realization finally crystallizing in her mind. "They're preparing us. Our consciousness, our chaos, our creativity, it terrifies them. They can't control it. So they're trying to change it, make it more like theirs. And we're letting them." As if to confirm her fears, that night she discovered encrypted transmissions between Nexar ships. When decoded, they revealed the truth. Earth wasn't their first stop. They had visited countless civilizations, each time offering the same gift of neural enhancement. And each time, those civilizations had slowly lost their unique consciousness patterns, becoming part of the vast, uniform Nexar network. Sarah Chen made a decision that night. Humanity's consciousness, with all its beautiful chaos and creativity, would not be standardized. She began encrypting her findings, preparing to broadcast them globally. The Nexar had to be stopped before humanity lost what made it uniquely human, its ability to think in ways that defied crystalline logic. The silent invasion had begun with winter lights dancing across the sky. But humanity's resistance would begin with a single consciousness refusing to be standardized, a spark of chaos in a world of growing crystalline order. As Sarah prepared her broadcast, she looked down at Earth, where the Nexer ships gleamed like perfect geometric snowflakes in the sunlight. They had brought silence to Earth, but humanity's song, chaotic, beautiful, and free, was about to break that silence. Breaking point. The truth spread like wildfire through the dark corners of the internet. Dr. Sarah Chen's broadcast had been blocked from major networks within minutes, but humans had always excelled at sharing forbidden information. Underground networks buzzed with her findings, and people began to notice the changes in their enhanced friends and family members, the diminishing creativity, the standardized responses, the crystal clear but eerily uniform thoughts. Marcus Rivera, a street artist in Sao Paulo, was among the first to document the transformation through his art. His massive murals depicted human faces fracturing into crystalline patterns, their eyes vacant and gleaming with an unnatural light. The Nexer called for the murals' removal, citing public safety concerns, but photos had already gone viral. People were beginning to see what they had missed before. In her secured lab beneath the Himalayas, Dr. Amara Okafor had been studying the neural patterns of enhanced humans. Her findings confirmed Sarah Chen's warnings. Human consciousness was being systematically restructured. The chaotic beauty of individual thought patterns was being replaced by perfect, predictable crystalline structures. It's not just standardization, Amara explained to her small team of unenhanced researchers. They're creating a massive neural network. Each enhanced human becomes a node, a perfect conductor for Nexer consciousness. We're not being upgraded, we're being harvested. The breaking point came during the Global Neural Summit in Singapore. Dr. James Morrison, now enhanced, was presenting the latest achievements of human-Nexer collaboration. His presentation was flawless, his logic impeccable, but something was wrong. An unenhanced student in the audience, Wei Lin, stood up and asked about human creativity, about the art and music that had seemingly disappeared from enhanced communities. Morrison's response was chilling in its perfection. Inefficient expressions of consciousness have been optimized for greater harmony with the network. The audience stirred. The Nexer representatives, their crystalline forms pulsing with internal light, moved toward Wei. But she continued, her voice growing stronger. You're not optimizing us. You're erasing us. Every enhanced human loses their spark, their ability to create something truly new. You're turning us into copies of yourselves. The Nexer moved with blinding speed, but they hadn't counted on human instinct. The unenhanced security team, already suspicious of the aliens' perfect movements, reacted instantly. In the chaos that followed, Wei escaped with a group of unenhanced scientists, including crucial data about the neural harvesting process. Across the globe, the facade of peaceful cooperation shattered. Enhanced humans began reporting to Nexer facilities en masse, their movements synchronized, while the unenhanced watched in horror as friends and family members became strangers before their eyes. The Nexer's crystalline ships, once regarded as beautiful, now loomed like frozen tears in the sky, their presence an unspoken threat. In hidden facilities around the world, resistance formed. Dr. Amara Okafor's team discovered that human consciousness, in its natural state, could disrupt Nexer neural networks through its inherent chaos and creativity. Sarah Chen, working with a network of unenhanced scientists, began developing ways to protect human neural patterns from crystalline infiltration. The Nexer responded by dropping all pretense of cooperation. Enhanced humans were fully integrated into their network, their individual consciousness subsumed into the crystalline collective. Cities with high concentrations of enhanced humans fell under direct Nexer control, their streets patrolled by beings that were no longer fully human or alien, but something in between. Crystal-infected hybrids that moved with perfect, terrifying synchronization. Marcus Rivera's final mural, painted under cover of darkness in the heart of Sao Paulo, became a symbol of the resistance, a human hand, chaotic and imperfect, shattering the crystal prison. Within hours, similar images appeared in cities worldwide, a testament to the human spirit's endurance. In her Himalayan lab, Amara made a breakthrough that would change the course of the invasion. Human consciousness, she discovered, wasn't just resistant to standardization, it was actively hostile to it. The same chaos that made human thoughts beautiful made them dangerous to the Nexer's crystalline order. "We're not just fighting for survival," she told her team as they prepared to share their findings with the resistance. "We're fighting for the right to be beautifully imperfect, to think in ways that can't be predicted or controlled. The Nexer chose Earth because they feared what we might become. Now we'll show them why." The battle lines were drawn. On one side stood the Nexer and their enhanced human army, their consciousness unified in crystalline perfection. On the other, the remaining free humans, their minds blazing with the chaotic creativity that had taken their species from cave paintings to the stars. The silent invasion had become an open war, not for territory or resources, but for the very essence of human consciousness. The neural revolution. The discovery that changed everything happened in the unlikeliest of places, an underground jazz club in New Orleans. Dr. Maya Jackson, a neurologist who'd been studying music's effect on consciousness patterns, noticed something extraordinary during a late-night performance. The improvised jazz, with its unpredictable rhythms and harmonies, created neural patterns that actively disrupted nearby Nexer surveillance systems. "It's the chaos theory of consciousness," Maya explained to the resistance leadership gathered in an abandoned subway tunnel beneath Old New York. "Jazz, true jazz, is impossible to predict or replicate perfectly. Each performance is unique, and that uniqueness creates neural frequencies that interfere with the Nexer's crystalline network." Dr. Amara Okafor's team quickly confirmed Maya's findings. Human creativity, especially in its most spontaneous forms, generated neural patterns that acted like static in the Nexer's perfect crystalline communications. But it wasn't just music. Any act of genuine human creativity had the same effect. The resistance found its weapon in human expression itself. Street artists began painting massive murals that incorporated fractal patterns derived from human brainwaves. Musicians held underground concerts that doubled as disruption operations. Poets and storytellers became warriors, their words carrying neural patterns that weakened the Nexer's control over enhanced humans. In Tokyo, teenager Hiro Tanaka discovered he could temporarily free his enhanced sister by showing her their grandmother's handmade origami, each piece unique and imperfect. The emotional connection to human-created art caused fluctuations in the crystalline structures controlling her mind. Sarah Chen, working from a hidden lab in the Australian outback, developed what she called a consciousness amplifier, a device that could broadcast human neural patterns across wide areas. The first test caused every Nexer structure within a kilometer to experience disruptions in their perfect geometric forms. The Nexer chose the wrong species to standardize. Sarah transmitted to resistance cells worldwide. They saw our chaos as a weakness to be corrected. They never understood that our chaos is our strength. Our imperfection is what makes us perfect. The Nexer responded with increased aggression. Their ships began emitting crystalline spores that attempted to force immediate neural conformity in unenhanced humans. But humanity had learned to fight back. Street vendors in Mumbai discovered that traditional incense smoke disrupted the spore's molecular structure. In Chicago, a group of quantum physics students developed shields based on deliberately irregular wave patterns. The most significant breakthrough came from an unexpected collaboration between Dr. Maya Jackson and a group of indigenous Australian Dreamtime storytellers. They found that ancient narrative patterns, passed down through generations of oral tradition, created neural resonances that could actually reverse the crystalline transformation in recently enhanced humans. "Stories are in our DNA," Maya explained during a secure broadcast to resistance forces. "They're how we make sense of chaos, how we find patterns without imposing artificial order. The Nexer can't understand them because they can't be reduced to pure logic. They're alive, growing, changing with each telling." The resistance developed a new strategy: cultural warfare. Every human tradition that celebrated imperfection, change, and creativity became a weapon. Japanese wabi-sabi aesthetics, African polyrhythms, Latin American magical realism, all were deployed in a global campaign to disrupt the Nexer's crystalline order. In enhanced controlled zones, the first cracks began to appear. Enhanced humans exposed to concentrated doses of human creativity showed signs of returning consciousness. Their perfect crystalline patterns developed fractures, through which original thoughts began to emerge. The Nexer, for the first time, showed signs of confusion. Their perfect network was being disrupted by forces they couldn't quantify or predict. They had encountered resistance before, but never like this. Never a species that could turn its perceived weakness into a weapon. Amara Okafor's team made another crucial discovery. The Nexer's crystalline technology was based on principles of absolute predictability. By introducing elements of quantum uncertainty into their defensive systems, humans could create zones where Nexer technology simply couldn't function reliably. They built their empire on the assumption that consciousness can be standardized. Amara announced to a gathering of resistance leaders. But human consciousness isn't just resistant to standardization. It actively generates new patterns. We're not just fighting their network. We're overwhelming it with possibilities they never imagined. The neural revolution had begun. Across the globe, humans embraced their chaos, their creativity, their beautiful imperfection. Each song, each story, each act of spontaneous creation became a battle and a war fought not with weapons, but with the very essence of human consciousness. In their crystalline ships, the Nexer witnessed something they had never encountered in all their conquests, a species that grew stronger by embracing its flaws, that found power in its disorder, that could turn its dreams into weapons. The perfect invasion was being undone by imperfect beings who refused to be perfected. Operation Mindstorm. Dawn broke over the Himalayas as Operation Mindstorm began. In underground bunkers worldwide, resistance leaders initiated the most ambitious coordinated attack in human history. But this wasn't a conventional military operation. It was a symphony of human consciousness conducted across the globe. Dr. Maya Jackson stood before the New Orleans Jazz Preservation Orchestra, their instruments modified with neural amplifiers. Remember, she told the musicians, don't play what's written. Play what isn't there. Above them, a Nexer crystalline tower pulsed with cold light, controlling thousands of enhanced humans in the French Quarter. In Rio de Janeiro, Marcus Rivera led a team of street artists in creating a massive reactive mural, its patterns designed to generate consciousness waves that would interfere with Nexer control signals. Similar art installations were being unveiled simultaneously in Tokyo, London, Mumbai, and dozens of other cities. Sarah Chen, coordinating from her Australian command center, watched as neural activity monitors lit up across the globe. The first phase is working. She transmitted to resistance cells. Their network is experiencing unprecedented disruption. Begin Phase 2. Phase 2 was humanity's secret weapon. In laboratories hidden beneath the world's great cities, scientists had developed what they called consciousness bombs, devices that could broadcast concentrated bursts of pure human creativity, emotion, and chaos. The prototypes had been built using neural patterns recorded from children at play, lovers' first kisses, artists in the midst of inspiration. The Nexer never saw it coming. Their crystalline systems, designed to impose perfect order, had no defense against the overwhelming surge of human emotional chaos. In New York, the first consciousness bomb detonated in Times Square. The blast was silent but profound. Enhanced humans within the radius suddenly stopped, their crystalline implants flickering as original thoughts began breaking through. Amara Okafor led the African offensive from a hidden base in the Congo. Her team had integrated traditional tribal rhythms with quantum wave generators, creating a cascading disruption that spread through the Nexer network like a virus of chaos. Enhanced humans began dancing in the streets of Lagos, their movements becoming increasingly unstructured, increasingly human. They're trying to adapt, Sarah Chen warned as Nexar ships began shifting formation above major cities. But that's exactly what we wanted. Force them to change their perfect patterns. It makes them vulnerable. The Resistance unleashed Phase 3. In orbit, a network of satellites began broadcasting what humanity had dubbed the Freedom Symphony, a combination of every form of human music, from classical to punk rock, all played simultaneously and encoded with neural disruption patterns. The cacophony was mathematical chaos, but it carried something the Nexar couldn't comprehend: the pure joy of human expression. The effect was devastating. Nexar ships, their crystalline structures dependent on perfect geometric harmony, began experiencing structural instabilities. Some of their smaller vessels shattered entirely, raining harmless crystal shards that dissolved before reaching the ground. But the true victory was happening on the streets. Enhanced humans everywhere began showing signs of awakening. The crystalline networks controlling them, bombarded by waves of human consciousness, started to break down. In Tokyo, an enhanced businessman stopped mid-stride, looked at his reflection in a shop window, and began to cry. In Cairo, an enhanced teacher suddenly remembered her children's names. The Nexar launched a desperate counterattack. Their remaining ships released clouds of crystalline spores designed to force immediate neural conformity. But humanity had prepared for this too. In India, huge incense burners filled the air with spore-disrupting smoke. In the Americas, native peoples conducted ceremonies that generated protective electromagnetic fields through rhythmic movement and sound. Maya's jazz orchestra in New Orleans reached a crescendo, their improvised music carrying neural frequencies that shattered the local Nexar control tower. As the structure collapsed, enhanced humans in the area began awakening en masse, their consciousness breaking free of crystalline control. "We're not just fighting their technology," Maya transmitted to resistance forces worldwide. "We're reminding humanity of who we are. Every improvised note, every spontaneous act of creativity, every genuine human emotion. It's all a key to breaking their control." Sarah Chen watched from her command center as neural activity maps showed human consciousness blooming like wildflowers across the globe. The Nexar's perfect network was being overwhelmed by the beautiful chaos of billions of human minds returning to their natural state. In orbit, the larger Nexar ships began retreating, their crystalline formations disrupted beyond repair by the continuous assault of human neural chaos. They had come seeking to perfect humanity, to standardize consciousness across the galaxy. Instead, they had discovered that some forms of consciousness couldn't, and shouldn't, be standardized. But Operation Mindstorm wasn't over. Even as the Nexar fled, humanity faced the massive task of helping enhanced humans recover their individuality. It would take time, creativity, and endless patience, all things that humans, in their beautiful imperfection, had in abundance. As the sun set on the first day of humanity's counteroffensive, Maya Jackson's orchestra played on, their music carrying hope and healing through the streets of New Orleans. In the fading light, enhanced humans gathered to listen, their crystalline implants flickering with each unpredictable note, as original thoughts began to emerge like stars in the evening sky. Symphony of Consciousness. The Nexar's last stand began not with a bang, but with a song. As their remaining ships gathered above the Gobi Desert for a final assault, humanity prepared its ultimate defense, not weapons or shields, but the pure, unfettered power of human consciousness unleashed. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the Global Command Center, surrounded by neural activity displays showing consciousness patterns from around the world. "They think they're forcing our final battle," she transmitted to resistance leaders, "but they're actually participating in their own farewell concert." The Nexar had deployed their entire remaining fleet, a crystalline armada that turned the sky into a geometric kaleidoscope. Their message was clear: submit to standardization or face extinction. They had never failed to conquer a species, and they wouldn't fail now. But humanity had spent months preparing for this moment. In hidden locations across the planet, neural amplifiers had been configured to broadcast not just chaos, but organized chaos, the kind found in weather patterns, in ocean waves, in the very fabric of the universe itself. Dr. Maya Jackson had coordinated with musicians worldwide to create what she called the Human Symphony, a piece that would be played simultaneously by orchestras, rock bands, folk ensembles, and indigenous drummers on every continent. Each group would improvise within a framework based on the mathematical patterns of human brainwaves. Music isn't just sound. Maya explained the global resistance network. It's mathematics made beautiful through imperfection. When we play together, we create patterns that reflect the fundamental nature of consciousness itself. The Nexer began their attack as planned, their ships descending in perfect formation. But this time, humanity was ready. At precisely the calculated moment of chaos, when the Earth's rotation, solar wind patterns, and human neural activity aligned, the symphony began. From the Sydney Opera House to Carnegie Hall, from African tribal gatherings to Asian temples, humans began playing. Each performance was unique, yet connected through underlying patterns that mimicked the very rhythms of human thought. The music carried encoded neural patterns developed by Amara Okafor's team, designed to amplify the natural chaos of human consciousness. The effect on the Nexer was immediate and catastrophic. Their crystalline technology, based on perfect order and predictability, began to resonate with frequencies it was never designed to handle. The ship's geometric patterns started to flutter, like leaves in a wind they couldn't comprehend. But the true miracle was happening on the ground. Enhanced humans everywhere began experiencing what witnesses would later call the awakening. The crystalline structures in their minds, bombarded by waves of pure human consciousness, started transforming. Instead of shattering, they began integrating with human neural patterns in unexpected ways. Marcus Rivera, watching from his rooftop studio in Rio, saw enhanced humans dancing in the streets, their movements evolving from mechanical precision to fluid, natural rhythm. Their crystalline implants, instead of failing, were adapting to human chaos, creating something entirely new. They wanted to perfect us. Sarah Chen broadcasted as she watched the transformation unfold. Instead, we're showing them a higher form of perfection, one that embraces imperfection itself. In orbit, the Nexer ships were experiencing their own transformation. The crystalline structures, exposed to prolonged waves of human consciousness, began exhibiting impossible behaviors. They started forming organic patterns, flowing like liquid glass, reflecting not just light, but the very essence of human creativity. The Nexer commanders, faced with a phenomenon their perfect logic couldn't explain, made their final mistake. They attempted to impose absolute order on their failing systems, to force their crystals back into rigid geometric patterns. The result was spectacular. Their ships didn't just break, they bloomed, transforming into structures that looked more like frozen auroras than battleships. As the human symphony reached its crescendo, something unprecedented occurred. The transformed Nexer crystals began resonating with Earth's own electromagnetic field, creating what scientists would later call a consciousness aurora, a display of light and energy that reflected the patterns of human thought itself. In that moment, the last vestiges of Nexer control shattered. Enhanced humans everywhere experienced a final surge of awakening, their crystalline implants fully integrating with their natural consciousness. What emerged was neither purely human nor Nexer, but something new, beings capable of both logical precision and creative chaos, of both order and inspiration. The remaining Nexer ships, their crystalline structures now irrevocably altered, withdrew from Earth's atmosphere. They had come to impose their version of perfection on humanity. They left having learned that true perfection isn't found in flawlessness, but in the ability to create beauty from chaos. In the years that followed, humanity would discover that the transformed crystalline technology left behind by the Nexer could be used to enhance human consciousness without suppressing it. The neural networks humanity built weren't rigid crystalline structures, but flowing, dynamic systems that celebrated individual thought while allowing unprecedented connection and collaboration. Dr. Maya Jackson's Human Symphony became a yearly global celebration, with each performance unique yet united in its celebration of human creativity. The consciousness aurora, triggered by the collective neural activity of billions of minds thinking freely, became a regular phenomenon, painting the sky with the literal light of human thought. Sarah Chen, in her final transmission before retiring from the resistance leadership, perhaps said it best: "The Nexar came to perfect humanity, never understanding that our imperfection was our greatest strength. They sought to impose order on chaos, never realizing that the most beautiful order emerges naturally from chaos itself. In trying to change us, they only proved what we've known all along, that the symphony of human consciousness, with all its beautiful disorder, is the highest form of music in the universe."